Hi, I have declared that this summer is going to be all about websites, mainly because I'm also in the process of realigning my website to really go along with and set up the core offer that I have in order to set up for success. And so that way I can get my clients and leads on autopilot, and I want to teach you how to do the same. Now, if you already have a website, still go ahead and use these steps and tools and even go through it. You can the planning document I'm about to share with you actually gives you a good way where you can kind of go through and audit your own website as to if these things are very clear or not. Because the first step in any process is, of course, the planning and really getting clear on what the goal is, and then making sure that we have all of all the information needed to reach that goal. To that end, I do want to share some of the two of the biggest mistakes that I see websites making. Usually, it is the first is that you are saying too much on your website. There's a lot of pages that talk about like who you are, what you do, what you love, and all of that. And that's good, but it doesn't make it, it makes it harder for your clients to go, okay, where do I go next? And so a lot of the times too, whenever we do get too wordy on our websites, we're really talking about things that our clients don't necessarily care about. They're coming to us for a diagnosis, what the problem is. They want the results and they want it quickly, and they don't want to have to do a lot of mental gymnastics or guessing games on your site in order to get to know what is the step that they need to take now and what does the process look like. So the other ties in, and I kind of already hinted at it, is that there is no clear path on your website for them to take. And so I've developed a process for website planning that's going to address that. Some of you may be familiar, and actually, I'll pull it up real quick while some of you may or may not have read Story Brand, which is a book by Donald Miller that sort of follows ish the same thing. The core concept of it, though, is that you are not the hero of your website or the hero of your business. Your client is the hero, and you're trying to position yourself as the mentor for them that comes alongside and guides them from where they are now to the result that they want to get. And so, to that end, there is, we hear a lot about storytelling and marketing and storytelling and selling and storytelling. We're not talking once upon a time there was a lost little client that needed no. So this resource that I've created is a series of questions that's going to uncover those elements of the story. And then the next website related drop that I'll be doing, which will be getting into kind of the copywriting of the core pages of your website, will be um, assembled through these different pieces that we're uncovering. So right now we're kind of dumping out the puzzle pieces of the crucial things that your website needs to have to clearly and concisely communicate to your clients exactly what you do, how you can help them, and how they can get started with you. So let's go ahead and dive in. I have your blank copy here, and then I'll flip over to mine so you can actually see what one looks like filled out and even get a little sneak preview of where I'm headed in my own core offers of the business. I'm not going to read the instructions because I believe you can read, but it all really starts with what does your client want? And this isn't all of the things you can do. I really want you to focus on either one core, what is the one core offer that you are promoting now, or that you're really, that's driving 80% of your business. And if you don't know what's driving 80% of your business, that's a different discussion. And we can set up a time and you and I can talk about how you can get to that. But ultimately, it's what does your client want? So for mine, I have, my clients want to get more high quality leads without extra work. And I'll just leave it on mine as we talk through it because I think that's going to be easier to give you the examples. And so your site has to immediately call out what you do, who you serve, and how they can get in touch with you. Those are really are like the 5-second test of anytime I do a website review. Do I know how I can reach this person, or do I know how I can take the next step that I'm ready to take, or any of that? A lot of sites clog their homepages, especially with junk. So be on the lookout for that. All right. So, what does your client want? And focus on one main desire. Um, and if you're doing this and you have multiple services that you do, think about the overarching high level journey that you do. Because within get more high quality leads without extra work, that could actually mean a lot of things to my clients. And it does actually encompass the different services and things that I do provide, even though I am very, you're going to see it really kind of nail in or come in to hone in on one specific one that I'm doing, but that doesn't mean that I can't do other things. This really is just kind of that gateway into what's the initial offer of working with you typically look like. If you're getting started in your coaching business, that could be, what is your one main one-on-one offer, or your one to a small group, or one to many, or your membership. What is that one main thing that you want to kind of get people in so they can get to work with you and get to know you as a coach? And for the desire, there is one big problem that is generally keeping them from getting that desire. So for me, that's going to be ineffective lead generation. You can keep it as brief as you want to, but I add a little bit extra to mine. Um, and so these are very foundational business things. If you've been in business at all for any time, you generally should have a quick answer for this, quick answer for what do they want, quick answer for what's the big problem that you solve. In gaming, we kind of have this acronym that's BBEG, which is big, bad, evil guy. So if you hear me say that, that's what I mean with that. And so because of the problem, what are the different symptoms uh, that show up? And so symptoms really are things that it's the external things that they can see. So in my case, it'd be, you have a lot of traffic coming into your website, but you don't have a lot of leads on the back end of that. You're spending money on ads, but you don't really know if it's working, or it's worked up until this point and suddenly something has now broken and it's not working. What is that? And so think about what are the external problems, and then because they're having this problem, how does that make them feel? So a lot of times you'll hear about the external motivations and then the internal motivations. And I'll fix that format there, just that way you can kind of see where that is. And again, you really do want to go deeper than like frustration, overwhelmed. They feel frustrated, they feel overwhelmed, they feel stressed. Don't we all? Why do they feel that way? So if you really don't have any other word for that other than frustration, overwhelmed, or stress, like really tie it into and make it specific as to what that is, because the better you can paint the picture, the more vivid and the more clearly you actually communicate that you do know them. And so they'll lean in a little bit more to listen to what the rest of your website or has to say. And now at this point, once we've introduced what they want and showed them the really cool thing, then we showed them then we kind of touched that we know their problem, and then showed that we really actually do understand their problem. It's time to kind of step in as that guide. And so through that, we do it with three things: is you have understanding, authority, and you have the core beliefs that make you different than anybody else who is serving the same one desire of the client the way you do, because this is all helping you get not just your niching in, But also, more importantly, the other two aspects of that that people don't talk about are messaging and how your offer is positioned within the array of options available to your ideal client. So come up with one really concise, comprehensive statement that demonstrates that you understand what they're going through. Use things that you can pull in from the feelings and emotions. Show that you've been there before. If you were your best client at one point, you're not your best client now. I will spoil that for you. Um, and even if it's something that you're newer in business and you don't have the client base and testimonials yet, if you've done what your offer is around. So for mine, it is about marketing measurement and analytics. And I've done that for the last decade and a half, basically, for this. So I may not have helped specific coaches, which is my niche, do this, but I have helped multiple clients over the years get the visibility into how their marketing is doing. And so, understanding statement, and then with the authority statement, you are demonstrating that you can be understanding but not have authority to solve somebody's problem. This is where you're getting both of those together because you are telling them, and this isn't bragging, it's like if you have the skills and experience, like you can literally say, I have the skills and experience to take your coaching business to the next level or whatever you are, your client's goal is. And so, what it comes down to is with the understanding and authority, you really want to kind of also bring in understanding and authority aren't enough. In order to really grab the attention of your best client, you have to connect with them and show what you stand for. Marketing is polarizing. It is not meant to be, maybe the reason why you're not seeing a lot of response or engagement is because you're not really making people choose a side. So for me, it's hey, I believe that every coaching CEO deserves transparent, data informed marketing strategies that empower you to make the right decisions and achieve sustainable success by getting leads on autopilot. What that means is I'm not here to tell you or regurgitate one of the many marketing strategies you've probably already been told, but to equip you with the data and analytics that you can use to identify what's working for your unique audience, not whatever target best client was the best client of the person that you heard or adapted the strategy from, because they're serving somebody different. If you're investing in their programs and stuff, you're their best client. That doesn't always translate to your best clients being in the same vein, which is why sometimes those things don't work. But without the data to know what's working, you're marketing in the blind. So that's how all of that kind of ties together. So showing that you've got empathy for the situation, you know where they are. You've already kind of demonstrated that by tapping into the internal and external motivations. You can give them words to their problem and words to their feelings if they didn't even realize that. And then step in as the I'm here to help, because we don't want to kind of doom and gloom them with that. And then to really, because anybody can say with the authority of like, yes, I have the expertise. Well, how can you show rather than tell, or show alongside the telling of your expertise? And so I've just got some notes there, and there's some places that you can do. If you've got testimonials, you can paste them in there. And so now that we've kind of got more of the higher level business and branding stuff out of the way, we're going to work on getting the second point that I said the mistakes were about, failing to create that clear path. And when you're doing this, you don't want to detail all of the steps because generally speaking, I know this is at least true with my clients, they don't want to know how the sausage is made. They just want to know maybe what ingredients are in the sausage, but then they're good. They just want the sausage or a hamburger at the end of it. So to do this, think about for your homepage especially, what is the one thing you want them to do on your website? For most of us, that is actually going to be book the sales call, discovery call, whatever you call it. Um, mine used to be the clarity call. Whatever it is, it needs to be very clear and concise. Like learn more, contact me or us if you're. Those are vague and don't really set up the expectation. Something I'll get into probably in a later training is what I call the expectation engine. It really is at that core of how you can get your website to be that auto, the lead generation on autopilot. And that all starts with being very clear about what action you want them to take and kind of setting up what's the expectation of if I click this button, what's going to happen next? If I click this link, what's going to happen next? Because that's how you path your client through a clear journey on your site. And so don't overcomplicate this. So for me, my one action is book your free business assessment. Very clear. Based on that, they know, and then you're going to kind of think through some of the details as well. So this is kind of maybe not your full success path, but really at the highest 30,000-foot level, what are the three big things that happen over the course of working with you? How do they get started? What is it like at the end? And then you've got the middle. So you've kind of heard the whole. It's like step one, idea. Step two, step three, profit. That kind of thing. So for this, what's the first step to take? Book your free business assessment. This is always going to be the same as the answer here. Spoiler alert. The next is briefly describe what happens, because this gives you copy or words that you can include. If they're like, book your free business assessment, whoa, what does that mean? It's okay, I'm going to schedule a consultation about a topic. So the more I'm setting up that expectation, and then what is the main benefit to them of doing? And it's again, benefit to them for completing this step. And in this case, completing the steps also means completing it in its entirety. So if it's a session with you, what's the benefit to them after finishing that initial sales call with you? Step two, what will you do for your client? And for me, this is where you really kind of get narrowed into one specific offer that you're focusing on and working on getting scaled out. And so for me, that's going to be built for you enhancements to your marketing. I'll learn how to type and stop typing over myself. Built for you enhancements to your marketing measurement systems. And then you really want, and this is something I struggle with, like full transparency, I brain dumped into Chat GPT and had it summarize for me. Because a lot of times as experts, we know and want to talk about all of the different details that go into the thing. Again, our best clients want to be guided through the process. They don't need to know all of the details completely up front. So giving just a very short 1, 2, if you really have to, sentences of what, kind of to expand enough on what you do, as well as the benefit for that. Because the idea is you keep them curious enough that if, like, the first couple didn't get them, that they're curious enough to stay engaged in reading on the page until they are ready to take the action that you have for them. And then step 3 is result. Because remember, it's like step 1, start a business. Step 2, step 3, profit. I've been watching a lot of DS9 lately, so Ferengis are on my brain. Um, so what is the result? So we start like, here's how to get started. You've worked with me. This is the result that you get. And again, it's always being framed in, for this, it's not necessarily, oh, you get leads on autopilot, but it is pulling in a little bit about how you get those leads on autopilot that's unique to your offer, or you can kind of use that for whatever example you've got. Um, and then a short description of the happy after state, and again, very short, and the benefit to them, for based on the result. And again, you're assuming that they have gone completely through the program, done everything that they needed to do, taken all the action, and this is the life that they lead now that they have completed your program and have taken action on it. And through all this, you want to productize things. So a clear, and again, this is somewhere where you can kind of lean on ChatGPT, and even, copy and paste some of this document into it towards like, hey, based on this, what are some ideas for a name? That's how I arrived at Client Attraction Blueprint, mainly because I want to make sure it's clear what it is I'm doing. If you get fancy or creative with the names too much, you're losing that clarity, which is that number one mistake that people make, is it's not being clear or they're way too wordy on it. All right. And so once you have that, this is where we now pivot into more of the details of that core offering that you have. If you have more than one offer, you may want to revisit some of these same steps, or I would actually argue the whole document. So if you're working on a specific service page, use this with the service page in mind. If you're building your website out or wanting to reevaluate or audit it again, use use your overarching journey. But ultimately, for whatever your offer is, you're going to go through the feature, which is what they get, benefit, which is the benefit to them, and then you're going to spell out what that benefit means. Don't, yes, we all work with very intelligent people, but sometimes the day is long and you're just looking through something or scrolling, and your brain is not in, deep thinking, critical thinking mode. I've been there, we've all been there. So that's why taking it a step further is, this is done for you. So you get the benefit of a high quality professional setup by a marketing measurement master, which means that you're actually going to get faster results, know it's done right, and you get to focus on your core business activities while I take the tech and the analytics piece off your plate. So being able to connect those makes it a lot more compelling than just say, hey, this is done for you, so you get, a professional setup. And then you leave it to them to interpret. The less you leave open to interpretation, the clearer the path you're creating for your potential customer is. And that is the core of copywriting. So we're going to scroll past all of this. I do say 5 to 10. I did provide 10 different. You do not have to fill them all out. but you at least want to get 5 in there, because then that gives you options that you can kind of test out, which is a more advanced thing. But that way, um, yeah. Anyway, and now that we've got everything, the other thing that your website can do that not enough people uh, leverage their website to do this for them is bust through objections. So that way it's, you know by now, or you can very likely guess what your most common objections are going to be, by the time you get to the sales call or have made your invitation to work with you. And a lot of times that's where a lot of us are struggling. I know I do, because sometimes thinking directly on the spot is not always a strength I have. I know this might come as a shock because I tend to teach live like this. However, there's a lot of preparation that goes beforehand, and objections are a lot easier to handle when you have done some of the pre-work to think through the conversation or to think through that. Because the other thing about how I like to approach sales calls is I'm not there to like sell you something per se. It's we're having a discussion. I'm kind of taking that role of the doctor to diagnose the situation. My role is to ask questions and help you uncover how you're reaching the decisions in your business. Um, and if what I have is, matches with where you are, then that's when the invitation is. And so that's, but a large part of that is understanding what objections you're going to get and how those might occur. And if you don't know, I did, mine is a mixture of actual conversations I've had, conversations I've been on the client side of with, outside vendors for some of the corporate jobs that I've done, as well as, mix in some ideas from ChatGPT, because again, ChatGPT is not going to give you all of the answers. It's not even going to be right if you don't kind of prep it ahead of time. But it's good for getting the ideas going, and then you are the ultimate last word on that. So I'm not going to get off on that tangent, but you can leverage it if you get stuck. It's great to get unstuck. So for this, I have, let me scroll down the one there. Okay, this one has all of them on one. And so I broke this out into what are the 3 to 5 main objections you think you're going to get. And so you can organize this around a theme. The 4 main buckets that most fall into is, um, you know, price slash, not seeing the value, um, as well as time commitments or constraints. I don't think this will work for me. My business is too unique, as well as trust. I don't trust in you enough to pay you this much. I don't trust you, um, that you're the right fit for me. Those are the 4 main buckets. So price, time, I'm unique, and trust. And for each of these, uh, for me, it's a lot easier to think in this is what was said. So I sometimes will ask ChatGPT to come up with a list of ways that this particular objection might be expressed in the words of a client. Um, Sometimes that has triggered words that I've actually had. And so, pick, 3 to 5, whatever variations you want or think that you might hear a lot. And then I just add them in here. You can format your objection however you wish, but the core thing is you want to have whatever the objection or the main theme of that objection is. And I would go beyond those 4 big buckets to what is really, uh, go beyond the four big buckets to what is really at uh, the detail level of what the specific thing is. So instead of like, well, the price is a problem. Well, the price is never really the problem. Usually it's the perceived value of what you're doing. Um, but that's a whole different that's a whole class on its own. But for the mini objection handling masterclass, that is this section of the workbook, list your objection, identify why that might not be necessarily true or why they might be misguided. The reason why I've also broken out into like myth and truth is this is good for social media ideas of like myth, one size fits all doesn't work for my business. I have to have a unique solution. The truth is for this particular offer of mine, I have a proven system that I build that brings in their own data so they can have the unique marketing strategies that they need to actually move the needle in their business. But until they are basing those decisions off of their real data and not what somebody in a mastermind or um, marketing cohort that they joined does, or whatever this agency they're paying but don't really have a lot of visibility into what's going on are doing, that's why they're like, one size doesn't fit all. Well, yeah, one size marketing plans don't fit all, but that's not what this is. This is giving you the data to create a data informed marketing plan. And then I like to do, so they have the objection. I like to acknowledge the objection and then follow it up with a thoughtful and relevant open-ended question that does that. And then the last piece of it, and this is case studies slash testimonials slash use cases, which the difference is case study is, we started here with this client, we did these things, this was the result. Testimonial is client going, oh yeah, they're the best. Use case is theoretical. So an option, I wouldn't necessarily use it if you have a case study or a testimonial to do it. And again, case studies can include, I'll go down to one that has it. They can include things that you've done outside of your business, corporately or through volunteer work. It's all experience and proof that you can get results. So there's that. So once we've handled all of your 3 to 5 major objections, we want to kind of up the stakes a little bit, where we're setting the vision, because at this point we have told them, we know what you want. Here's the problem that's keeping you from getting it. I'm the guy that can help you get there. You need to book a call with me so we can go through my process. Here's the overview of the process. And you've handled your objections, or you've preempted those. And now we're setting the vision of, you're at this juncture. You can choose not to work with me, or you can choose to ignore the problem, or you can choose to handle the problem. And so we're going to take them down both tracks of what their possible futures could look like. Now, with this, it's very important not to do the infomercial of like, oh gosh, I can't put my eyeliner on, that's just over the top ridiculous of, oh, I can't hold all these things, or I can't put a lid on my drink, or whatever. We've all seen the crazy ones. It's like nobody actually does any of that to try to get a lid on, or put their eyeliner on or anything like that. So you really want it to keep it realistic without blowing it out of proportion. So, an example that you can use was, what are the 3 negative consequences for not, choosing to address what your main service is, or address the problem, is that, so in my example, it is higher operational costs, An example that would be overblown is, you what essentially is like, you're spending millions on tech and thing and yeah, essentially just I don't like overblowing things, but essentially you're taking the higher operational costs, which you can still be turning and making a profit to like you're going to lose your house and your shirt and everything that you own and because you choose not to do this. Nobody like that's not cool. Just don't do it. Um, but identify three realistic negative outcomes and the feelings and emotions that are associated with those outcomes. Because we make decisions based on emotions. I don't remember who to attribute, but there's a quote that talks about that. I think it might be Carnegie. I will look it up later. Um, and then the other is here are the three successful and realistic outcomes of if they do work with you. And this is where we don't want to promise obviously sun and moon, but it's like what realistically is achievable that they may not be aware of, or if they're aware of it and they want it, they don't necessarily know of what all needs to happen to get them there. That's where your student comes in, but then you leave them with the successful. So it's really asking that question of why do they need you specifically versus somebody else that offers a similar service in your industry. Because I work with a lot of career coaches. There's a lot of career coaching out there. What would make you the reason, or what is the reason for somebody to go with you over somebody else? Because there's a lot of sub niches within the career um, coaching industry as well. And so it could be your approach. It's really that what makes you different and why you. Because we set the stage for, yes, I can be your guide and all that, but why are you the perfect guide for them? Um, and so it's really helping set the vision for the success or, you know, continue uh, success or negative results of choosing to address the problem, but specifically choosing to address the problem with you versus kind of continuing with whatever solutions that they want. And so once you've done that, this is kind of your last this is just the first step because now we've kind of dumped the puzzle pieces out. In the next drop that I do, it will show you how you can take these, connect them, and remix them in order to create really compelling copy for your offer pages, for your service pages, for your website, so that you're having that clear path, you're having that concise conversation, and really drawing your best customers in to help get you more leads. If you have any questions, please put them in the Facebook group. I would love to answer them. If you would like me to review your filled out version of this, I would be happy to do that. Uh, just you'll use this share link and you'll hit share and you can oops, you can do anyone with the link and then have it be a commenter and then you can DM it to me if you want through Facebook. You can email it, or if you want, you can add the Ashley at Iteratology as somebody that has access if you don't want to do a general link. Um, and that's how you can share that. And I don't actually want to share this because, oops, I don't care. Uh, but yeah, that is how you can do that. And if you would like to, I actually need to update this, but you can still book a call with me if you would like to um, have this reviewed. Actually, that might be the better thing to do is if you want me to go through this with you, or if you get stuck, hop on this and we can have a call together.